Folks, welcome today. I want to come to you in a video. I have different interests on my channel, my YouTube channel, and some of them are with knives. And so I don't have a whole lot of content on knives, but I've been doing it now for about 8 years. Of course, you know, growing up, I'm 55 years old, always had different knives, you know, growing up, but never got really serious into it. So about 8 years ago, I got more into collecting and adding and carrying little pocket knives, EDC knives. And so with having knives, it is the opportunity to sharpen knives. And so I want to talk to you today about this budget sharpening system that I purchased. I'm assuming maybe 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. And it's the Lansky Sharpener system. It's right here. I have done some screenshots of a place where you can get this stuff pretty affordably in 2025 because from the Lansky website is quite a bit more money. So you can get them online at other places. And I'll share that with you in screenshots. Let me get that out. I am not paid or sponsored to do any of this, so I'm not getting any money. I just want to be helpful and share. So there are knife sharpener systems out there that help you to put an edge on a knife, other than a flat stone that you have to have a lot of skill and a lot of practice on to get a really good edge on both sides. And I just didn't really want to do that route. I wanted something that I could, you know, kind of set up in a jig and then kind of run, 15, 18, 20, 25, 30, you know, a bevel, you know, on the knife edge, and be able to go back, you know, in a year or 6 months and repeat that edge and do it with kind of minimal effort and have good success. So there's other knife sharpeners, and I'll do the screenshots, and they range from, you know, Wicked Edge Pro is one of the ones that I have considered, but they're, you know, starting at recently $200, and then if you add a base to it, it's $300, and they got $500, and they have $900 systems, and they got all the way up to $1,500 to $1,600, $1,700 systems. If you are a pro and you do this for a living, yes, I don't typically do the Lansky sharpener. If you're a pro and you do this often, or you are just a guru at this and you want your knives the ultimate of the best precision sharpeners and you can afford it, yeah, then go ahead and pay, you know, the $500, $600, $700, $1,000, $1,700 for a sharpener. But for someone that has about 30 knives at a given time, and I don't put edges on them all because I don't use them. I use a couple, and I typically will put edges on some of my lesser expensive knives because I don't typically use my more expensive knives. I just have them and enjoy them and hold them and carry them and cut, you know, simple things with them, and they don't need sharpening. But I will use a strop to maintain the edges on all my knives. When I use them, I use a strop, and I'll get more into my strops, leather strops. So I want to say I start out, you don't want to use your $200, $300, $400 knife and practice sharpening on that. You want to buy a knife that maybe $25, $30, $40 that you enjoy, that they make $30, $40 knives, even $27 knives or $25 knives that are pretty quality these days. And I have a QSP that I really like, and I am a big fan of the sheep's foot blade. This is one that I have put a just crazy edge on with this sharpener system. I have had some other ones that I have sold that were budget knives in the $30 to $60, and I've put mirror polished edges, razor blade sharp. I just can't explain how sharp the edges are, and just how, I mean, literally just, I mean, you could shave a layer of your skin off and not even know it and just be, oh, you know, that's no big deal. And you're sitting there with skin, you know, stacked up on the knife, you know, the blade of your knife. It's incredible how with a system just like this, that you can put a razor sharp edge on these knives. Here's another knife, another Kershaw. That's what I started out with was Kershaw's because they were more budget friendly. I can't remember the name of this one. It's a really good one. It feels so nice. I put just a crazy edge. I maybe went overboard, and I probably maybe put more of a 20 degree, on 20 degree on one side and 20 on the other. It's usually more for scalpel type, knife cutting, but and maybe that adds to it, but it is just so sharp. And I have been able to achieve almost and pretty much a mirror edge on these knives through these different stones and the leather strop that you can get extra. And I have a link to that just shows you the price and shows you the picture when you go there to look at it, a little strop. And I'm going to show you how to use this system in general terms. And I just recently, and I didn't even have this for all those years. I just got this probably last week. This is a 2000 ultrafine polishing stone. I had the 1000 grit fine stone, 1000. I usually write on there because it's difficult to see what grit it is. And so this is 1000, this is 2000, and this was like $17, and you got to pay a little shipping to get it, but it's yeah, so pretty cool. I haven't even used that on the knives that I got so sharp with, and with the leather strop was able just to almost, get a polished finish, and they were just really, really sharp. So, and then some things you want to do is you want to add a leather strop. And the sad thing about this is, and it's a good memory, a bad memory and a good memory, this was my dog's collar. That passed away. She lived to a very old age, but then just finally we had to, let her go away, and very unfortunate. But I had her collar, and was just sitting around for a year before I got another dog. And I put this on a piece of wood that I had in the garage, and it's a soft leather, and it's been amazing. And it's a little thinner, and it allows me with these smaller knives to get a really good edge, a fine edge, and to maintain the edge. So you can buy, this is what I bought for maybe $12 from a cutting sharpening store, and this is not as cool as this soft and kind of a little bit more squishy as this leather on this strop that I built. I obviously had to lay down glue and then lay the collar down, the leather collar, and cut it to length and to make that. But this one came pre-made, and this is okay, but I like this one better. Also too, one of those, I think this one came with a polishing compound. It's yellow color that you put onto your leather strop, and it gives it a little bit more grit to it and helps you kind of maintain your edge a little bit better than just a stock leather strop. So there's that. Okay, now I'm going to get into it because the video is going to get really long. So just FYI, I have a lot of $150 knives, $200 up to $300 knives. This is a Kershaw M390, a ZT carbon fiber. I don't remember my names right here at the moment. The S35VN. I don't sharpen those because I said you want to start with something budget so you can hone your skills instead of maybe damaging one of your more expensive knives. And people that have the Wicked Edge Pro, are so skilled probably anyways that they're like, just throw on a $500 knife and I can sharpen it up. That's a different category than what I am. And here I have a Miguron that is so sharp. It's a razor blade, and I think I did touch up that edge and make that even sharper. This thing is like basically a lightsaber if you're into Star Wars. Just zoom and it just slices. It's unbelievable how sharp that is. And then I've got a Spyderco here, Capara. That's just some of the knives, just to show you that I'm not a moron and I only have $10, $20, $30 knives. I do have quite a few more expensive knives. But like I said, I stick to my more budget knives, and I put really good edges on them, and these are the ones that I tend to carry. But if I've honed my skills sharpening those, then I will probably likely do a really good job on my more expensive knives. I'm going to go into the basics real quick, not too long, of how this works. There's plenty of videos. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel with sharpening videos. There's probably a million of them out there, literally a million sharpening videos. But the Lansky system is what I'm focusing on. This was $48, and they still have it for like $48 at the place that I've recently just bought this at a pretty good discount versus the Lansky website, which is like double the price. What you get with this Lansky system here, this is the heart, the meat of it. This is what allows you to mount your knife in here, right up here at the top. You put it in, and it only goes in a certain way, but you can put it in deeper. It's just, you need to do a little research, because when you put it in deeper into the handle, then it's not going to be at the designated 17, 20, 25, 30 degree angles. So there's a certain amount of depth that you put it in, and then those hold true. So I just want to be clear about that. But you know, if you're starting out with a new edge, then you know you kind of want to ballpark it, that's one of these things. This is not as precision as the Wicked Edge Pro or the systems that cost a lot more. I mean, you're kind of getting in between 17, 20, 25, and 30. You can't fine tune that 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and so on. So you're kind of set with predetermined angles that you're going to put on your knife blade. So, but that's okay for most of us. If I'm not a pro knife sharpener, I can manage with this system. So I've got a 70 grit stone right here, 70 grit. It goes up to 120 grit right here, the red. I've got a 280 grit right here, green. I've got a 600 grit right here, the dark blue. In this system, I did not get the 800. I mean, it could be nice to kind of have the 800, just like having this 2000 ultra fine polishing stone. But then we go up to the 1000, so that's 600 to 1000. And then we go up to the 2000, and then you can go up to the strop with the stropping compound to really put a really, really, really sharp mirrored more type edge. So how this works, just really, really quickly, as you will mount your knife in here into the top of the little mount system, and then there's a screw right here and a screw right here that you can control, turn with your fingers. And so you're going to put tension on the top of that and secure your knife in there. And I usually, if it's a polished blade or something you don't want to scratch up or mark, you can put a little bit of tape, just a little thin strip of tape right there, so that it's not metal on metal. This is probably aluminum, so I don't know if it's going to really damage that, but I don't want to take the risk, so I put a little bit of tape right there on the top. And then what you do is you come in, hopefully this is informative. New people, most likely, as you have your little guide right here is what that is, and you put that you loosen the little wing nut right there, and you insert your guide right there, your guide rod. You put it down on a flat surface and line it up so it's straight and it sits flat, and then you come in and you tighten up the little wing nut right there. I don't know what that's called. Okay. So there you have it. You don't go crazy on tightening, but just tighten it down. So there we have our rod. And so what that's going to do, and I know there's a lot of videos on this, but I'm just going over it. You put it in the hole with the degree that you want to put the bevel on the edge of your blade. So you put that right there, and then you just rub this on one side of your blade. This is the very, very rough stone. So if you're putting a new edge, you would want to use the 70 grit stone and start out with a 70 grit. And so you're going to go down on the edge of the blade until, this is key, until you we're sharpening on this side, until you come in and you can feel a burr. It's a very rough edge and it kind of catches your finger. You gotta start with a burr on one edge and then come in and put a burr on the opposite edge. And so you're trying to balance that out so there's not a burr on one side. But that's how you know you're sharpening your blade and you're getting a nice flat beveled edge. That's very, very key. Then you also use your black marker. I don't have my black marker right here, but you come in and you can draw a black mark on the edge of the knife. I just almost cut my finger and my tip of my nail off. It's so sharp. And so that allows you to keep track of where your stone is polishing and removing metal. That's your first step, is to use your black marker to mark over the edge of your knife. That's very, very key. And then also to sanding down and then getting a burr on the opposite edge. When you start feeling that burr with your finger on the opposite edge, then you move the stone to the other side in the same mark, the same degree, and then you start sharpening down the blade until you get a little bit of burr on this side. Then what you can do, once all that looks uniform on both sides, you want to look at it very closely and make sure you don't have a more flat, tall edge on one side and the other edge is small. That's not going to be the optimum. You want both the bevels to be perfectly the same. So then once you've got that to that point, 70 grit, we're going to go up to our 120 grit, the red grit. Then we're gonna file on that again until we feel burr. And we're going to come over here and file on this side until we feel a burr, and maybe do it one more time just lightly right here. And then we're going to look at it, inspect it. You can use your black marker and mark that again. And then we go up to our 280. And then you're going to do the same thing over again. You're just refining the edge, smoothing it out. And then you're going to go to the 600, the 1000 next. It's getting really sharp at this point. And you're going to put a mirror polished edge on it with the 2000 grit stone. And then you're going to just finish it off with this strop. And you can't, important to know, you can't move your strop up and down on the blade, or you're going to cut. You're going to really cut into, this is leather and soft, so you can only go one way. You can only go and go up the blade, and on the other side you can go like this and move up, and you do not want to go down because you will tear up your strop. And these are maybe like $15, $16, $17, $18, and you just don't really want to damage those because you have to buy a new one when you tear it up. So that's basically it, and Lansky provides this honing oil. And from all the research that comes in the kit, just like this right here, it comes right here in the kit, they recommend that you put this oil 1 or 2 drops on your stones. And so from all the research that I have seen is that the oil it's a lubricant, but it's kind of not clear. But they say that this oil on the stone causes the metal shavings that get embedded into the coarseness of the stone. And if you allow metal shavings to fill all the little coarse imperfections in the stone that allow the grit to sharpen the knife, then you reduce the effectiveness of your stone. So this 1 or 2 drops on here raises that metal out of the little small different grooves. Obviously this is going to have bigger pores than a 1000 grit. They're going to be very, very small. Hopefully that makes sense. This is more coarse. This is much finer. But to put a couple drops on that and then have a cloth, smooth it on with your finger, the oil, so it's smooth across it, and then wipe this on a cloth, and you'll see that it turns your cloth black. And so I think that from all my research that's the purpose of the honing oil, is to lift up those metal particles and get those off your stone so that your stone is doing a better job and is more consistent. So cool stuff. There's a lot to know. So you just need to play with this and experiment, and you should get pretty good at it. Like I have gotten I would say pretty good at it. I'm not an expert, but I've had a lot of pretty good success. So yeah, other than that, I think that's everything. I mean, I wish I could show you. My camera does not zoom in close to my blades to show you any refined edge, but the video would be too long. So I thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful. Go to the sharpening warehouse where I bought these if you want to get a budget knife sharpener, but it's very good. It works extremely well for most people, probably 90% of the people. Then you got the 10% of the people that are pro or professional sharpeners that are going to need something more refined and something that's repeatable and just that because they can afford, because they're sharpening knives. You're going to buy a $1,500 sharpener. That just doesn't make sense to a person that sharpens maybe 2 or 3 knives in a year, and every 5 months I may need to touch up an edge. It just doesn't make sense for me to spend that amount of money. So you're probably looking, I think, at about $85 for everything I have here. I also, just really quickly, I have a little C-clamp that mounts on a table and has a little riser on it, and this fits into that. And I have a picture of it, and I'll post it right here above. You can get that, and you may like that, but I don't really use mine. I just hold mine in my hand and do this, and it just works the best for me. But there is that to be had. They also have one that you can screw into a work desk. If you have a nice, really solid work desk or a workbench outside, you can 4 bolts and screw that in with a little riser on it that this fits into. So you can do that too. But yeah, that's my video. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, leave me a like and maybe comment too. Okay? Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.